Sergio Leone released his final film, Once Upon a Time in America, in 1984. There are multiple cuts of this movie. When it was initially released, it was kind of butchered by the studio, who got cold feet about it and wanted a more linear narrative. I've not seen that cut. The cut I've seen is the final one that was re-established by Leone. It's 3 hours, 49 minutes long. And yeah, look, I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with Leone in the fact that I love the way he shoots a movie, the way he composes a shot, absolutely beautiful. I think The Good, the Bad and the Ugly and Once Upon a Time in the West are very good films, really good films, but I've never quite been on the side of the fence that is willing to go full 5 stars for various reasons. If I ever review those films, I'll say why, I guess, but I guess what I'm saying is I'm not quite the avid fanboy of Leone the way a lot of movie fanatics are and the way a lot of filmmakers are. You know, you look at people like Quentin Tarantino who absolutely adore Leone and have kind of cribbed a lot of Leone's stuff in their own work. I'm not on the same page as most of those people, though I do respect him as a talent, as a director, as someone who is able to create a mood, and all that is evident in this film. So this film is a little bit like Boys in the Hood, which I just recently reviewed. It looks at a group of core characters as children, but it also looks at them as adults. Now, where Boys in the Hood was very linear, we saw them as kids first, then we went to them as adults and stuck with them as adults. Here, we zip about through 3 different time zones. You know, we see them as kids, we see them as young men, and we see them as old men. What that does is it allows you to juxtapose particular moments in their life, so it shows you how they've changed or not changed, or how things kind of repeat themselves. That's what a device like that is helpful for doing. So obviously when you remove that and you re-edit the film in linear fashion, the way the studio did it upon its initial release, you destroy any kind of meaning that might be borne out from using that method. So we have these guys as kids getting together, forming a gang with a few other friends, and it's all fun and games until somebody gets hurt, really badly hurt, that sends DeNiro's character as a kid to prison. When he gets out, many years later, they reform the old gang and they get back up to their old tricks. And that's essentially it. That's the story. You got a bit of a love interest kind of stuff thrown in the mix, which again, I shudder to call it that given what happens. But that's your basic gist. That's your setup. I don't particularly like it. Like I say, I think from a technical standpoint, there is much to appreciate. Everything is on point. You know, beautiful cinematography, amazing production design. Period detail is phenomenal. The costumes, the sets, everything, all that stuff, I can't fault it. It's perfect filmmaking in terms of technical craft. And I see why people revere Leone so much for that kind of thing. And yet, so many issues with this film. The pacing is just ridiculously slow. Like it's boring. It's laborious to get through. There are so many sequences where you could cut them down by half easily. There's a lot of sequences in this where I'm engaged, where for whatever reason, whatever going on in that given sequence, I'm engaged. It's like my attention suddenly pricks up and I'm like, oh, there's something going on here. Like particularly the inciting incident that sends DeNiro's character as a kid to prison. The stuff that's going on there, I'm suddenly engaged. I'm like, oh, what's going to happen here? This, that, and the other. So it gets a rush of blood, shall we say, going, and which kind of then dies down once we get back into the natural rhythm of the film, which is very slow paced, quite dull. But yeah, loads of scenes where too much dialogue is used to convey a particular moment, which has already been conveyed in the dialogue that's just preceded it, but they drag out a conversation even longer. You know, you could have cut it in half. There's loads of sequences where you have like someone looking pensively into the middle distance for a good 20 or 30 seconds when you got the point by the 5 or 10 second mark, and you're just like, dude, seriously, cut this down some. But it's like there's so much of that throughout the film where I'm just thinking this could have easily been 3 hours long. Then we get to my biggest bugbear of the film, which is that there is no one in here to root for, with perhaps one exception being a character who's just a victim, really, and that's why you root for her. But yeah, I don't care about these people. They're deplorable people. There's no point am I rooting for them. At no point do they give me any reason to want to see them succeed. They're morally bankrupt, particularly the DeNiro character. He's our central character, essentially, the one that we mostly follow. On 2 separate occasions in this movie, with 2 separate women, he rapes them. Now, the first one, like, if you've seen the film, I know there's an argument to be made there that wasn't really rape. She was clearly asking for it. She's a bit of a rough around the edges character. She ends up joining their gang. She's clearly villainous side to her, and like the way the scene plays out, it's literally like she's egging him on, and it's like, even so, it leaves a bad taste in the mouth. The second one, there's no ambiguity about it. It is what it is. It is what it looks like, which is just full-on rape. But the whole scene, the way it plays out, I just found myself getting more and more annoyed. Again, it goes on for way too long, and during this sequence, it takes place in a car, and while De Niro's character is raping this woman, assaulting this woman, there's a driver, and the driver never turns around. He never says, hey, what's going on here? Stop this nonsense. He basically waits for it to be finished, and then he pulls over, and he doesn't say anything, but you can tell from his body language, he's waiting for De Niro's character to get out of the car. And then he makes it clear in no uncertain terms, again, through his body language, through his actions, that he did not approve. And it's like, I'm just like, screw you, pal. Like, if you didn't approve, which clearly you shouldn't approve of that, you should have stopped the car the moment that thing started and dragged his ass out and broken his legs, because that's pretty much what I'd be doing at that point. But to sit there, carry on driving, not acknowledging it, and then stick your nose up as if you got some kind of superior moral high ground by the time it's finished, is just the most cowardly act of any character in this film, quite frankly. But it just made me boil. It made my blood boil, and I hated it. Hated the moment. Hated watching it. I hated anything that it might have been trying to say about De Niro's character. Like, it made me care for him even less. I didn't care for him all that much up until that point, but once that moment happened, I was out, and I wanted the film over. I was like, I don't care about this guy. He's a piece of crap. Why are we following him? Why is he our main character? What do you want me to feel about this guy, given what we've seen him just do? Except, other than repulsion, what is there to feel about him? I don't feel sorry for him in any way. I don't think he's a stand-up guy because he went to prison for his mates. It's just like, so what? So what? Like, after what you've just done, so what? There's the issue of the music. Now, Ennio Morricone's score is, on the one hand, it's phenomenal. It's a beautiful piece of music. Like, if I listen to the score of this film out of the context of the film, it's beautiful. It's a lovely piece of music. And even in the context of the film, there's many moments where it works really well, and it just sets the mood brilliantly. But then there's moments where it actually aggravated me, because that scene I've just mentioned being the prime example, once that's over with, once what De Niro's character has done, Noodles is his character, once what Noodles has done is over with, he walks off down the street, and we get this really contemplative, sad, kind of emotional music playing over the top of it. And I'm like, who's that for? Because the woman that he's just assaulted is no longer in the scene. It's just him, and he's walking off into like what looks like an early morning sky, sun maybe rising just around the corner, and you're just like, why is that? That's not the appropriate music right now, because it suggests a certain sense of sadness for his character that we should be feeling or whatever. It just felt icky at the time. It felt inappropriate. I couldn't get on board at all. I hated the character, and playing that particular music that we'd heard throughout the film at that particular moment, I was like, no way. This feels like one of those films as well that was edited to the music rather than the music being scored to the film. Now, I've got no basis to hang that on. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just saying what it feels like because of how it plays out. Because there's so much in terms of the editing of this film where the pace seems set by the music and not the other way around. Like, again, like I said, there's a lot of scenes where you could cut stuff out, you could trim dialogue, you could speed moments up, get there a bit faster, and then boom, you put that up, you let Morricone score it, and the score would suit it. Whereas here, it feels like, because of the pace of the score, it kind of sets the pace of the film as well. So the editing just gets protracted. The scenes just go on way longer than they need to. Moments just are stretched way longer than they need to be. And again, like I say, that feels like it's a result of being edited to the music. Could be wrong on that. That could have been the pace that Leone set right from the beginning. But if so, I feel like he made the wrong choice, personally. I get to the end of this film and I just see, yeah, okay, it's a movie about America, I guess, as a whole. I mean, obviously that's in the title, Once Upon a Time in America. But I just feel like, yeah, our politicians are essentially gangsters. You know, they're one and the same. They're cut from the same cloth. America is built on a corrupt system that favours those who push the boundaries of good taste and break the law, and yet, you know, yeah, they run the country essentially in various ways, whether it's behind the scenes, on the streets, bootlegging, that kind of stuff, or in the White House, or behind the doors of the political system. It's all corrupt. They're all bad guys. It's like, great, okay, that's my takeaway from it. But it's like, I really feel like we didn't need a 3-hour, 49-minute movie to hammer home that message in such laborious detail. For me, Once Upon a Time in America was an absolute drag. As beautiful as it is, as absolutely immaculately made as it is from all of the technical aspects, for all, you know, all the craft that you see on screen, which is top notch. It just, at the end of the day, all any film comes down to ultimately is story and character. If the story and character work isn't doing it for me, it doesn't really matter how good it looks or how well made it is. It's just, I wasn't engaged. For most of the running time, I wasn't engaged. And I wasn't engaged because I didn't care about these people. Not only did I not care about these people, I actively hated them. I hated spending time with them. I hated their antics. I hated their outlook on life. And I felt no sympathy for them at any point during the film, except, as I say, the female character, played by Elizabeth McGovern, in this, and her character, again, she gets a moment towards the end of the film where she meets up with De Niro's character again with Noodles, and I don't even like how that scene plays out, because I feel like Noodles gets away scot-free without having to ever address what he did, apologise for what he did, get down on his knees and beg for forgiveness for what he did. It's just like, yeah, it's just airbrushed out as if it was nothing. Yeah, I hated it. I don't understand how people can watch this and just put the blinkers on, the goggles about, oh yeah, Sergio Leone is such a master. Right, that may be the case, but at the end of the day, the film he made is still quite abhorrent in many ways. You're never going to convince me otherwise, but you can try in the comment section down below if you like. Let me know your thoughts on Once Upon a Time in America. Thank you for watching this review, and until next time, cracking.